you were very close friends with Billy Graham. There's a picture, I think at one of his favorite Mexican restaurants that I may have been at with you guys at one point. But he sadly passed away,
Yeah,
which I'm sad about too still. But you saw him all the time. You were both from Phoenix. You've known him for decades, and you were with him right until the end. If there's anything you
yeah,
could share about
yeah,
that, you were at the funeral, of course. I was under a travel
yeah,
restriction at the time. I couldn't go.
yeah. I was very thankful. They had an open casket at Billy's service at the church when I first walked in, and I was able to stand over Billy and tell him how much I love him and respected him and all of that, and as I did to his face when he was alive. And we did that service, and then I went on to the cemetery, and it still hasn't completely. I'm still not over it. It's still like sitting there. It's like my grieving is still going on, and it's been a year coming up. In another couple of weeks. So another week is a year from when he died. I believe the 23rd of May, and the funeral service was June 1st, as I recall. So it's all coming up on the anniversary. Uh, there was just nobody like Billy, and you spent a lot of time with him too, and he was a very wise man and uh, very insightful. And we, as I always used to say during our lunches, we'd have 2 or 3, 4, 5 hour lunches that we would totally, it's amazing. We would laugh, we would cry. We did about everything but bleed together during our lunches. And I'll always miss those. But I will cherish the memory of sitting with him and talking about different wrestlers and the people he respected or the people that he had issues with or any kind of trouble with or that sort of thing. I always learned a lot from Billy, and you know, one of a kind guy, one of a kind, and what an impact he made on the business. Mm.
I heard his wife Valerie has since moved to Florida and is still in the same boat as you. She's still getting over it. Have you heard from her at all?
I have not, and I didn't know that she had moved. Although that's the best thing for her. I mean, with the exception of visiting Billy's grave, all her family is in Florida, and she has other friends and relatives there in Florida. So that was a wise move on her part, for probably to reconcile some of this grief and be around family. And um, I need to get back over to Billy's grave. I saw that they finally put a headstone on his plot. I looked at Find a Grave under Wayne Coleman, and so he has a headstone now. So I want to go over and pay my respects to him and Eddie Guerrero just down the way from him, and but it's still a shock, absolute shock. And I'm actually glad to hear that Valerie left Phoenix. I think that's the wisest thing for her to have done.
It's sad with all he did for wrestling. What an icon that he did. WWE couldn't even pay for a proper headstone for this guy with the amount of money people are making these days and the amount of revenue that they're generating. Because there really won't ever be another guy like him, and he truly
No,
changed wrestling. So
I
that's actually
agree.
sad.
I agree. And,
Uh,
I was actually surprised more people weren't at his service. Also, wrestlers. I understand somebody like yourself, you were from another country, so that's a lot different. But there's a lot of Southern California wrestlers that could have came, and a lot of other people. I mean, Steve Strong, one of his best friends, he showed up, and Rock Riddle,
he had a great
and Ron
speech.
Pritchard.
He had a great speech.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And but to be honest with you, I was surprised Ric Flair wasn't there, or whoever. What's a plane ticket to some of these guys? And I was.
Uh, we lost Bill again. Hopefully he'll come back, but yeah, it's true. And sadly, as I said in my Hannibal memories, one of the toughest parts and what I was under a false accusation that prevented me from leaving Canada for a couple of years, so I couldn't go.
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I could just tell you with Billy, it leaves a void in my life. I miss knowing he was just across town from me, just an email away or a phone call away. Uh, when I was having a ton of health issues, more about a year ago, I was going through a lot of intestinal problems. Billy was calling me every single day and saying, brother, you need to talk to your doctor about this and that and this and that. And he said, get a pen and paper and make a list here. I'm going to tell you what you need to discuss with your doctor. And I miss those phone calls, and I miss the emails. And because he was a dedicated friend, that it's hard to find dedicated friends like that. We have a lot of acquaintances, but a friend like that, they're tough. They're tough to lose.
I miss his emails a lot too, because he was always there.
Yeah,
So it's
he
unfortunate.
respected you. He respected Dave Meltzer. He had certain people that he really respected a lot, and he talked about, like you talked about Meltzer, and talked about a group of people, a handful of people. On one hand, he would talk about with good things to say and everything, and you know,
For the people
but
that don't know too and only hear the stories about him, he's like a genuinely very nice person. He might get grumpy once in a while, but he's really nice and he'll help people, like average people, and he's not arrogant at all for everything he's accomplished.
that's very true, and um, yeah, I saw a lot of good things from Billy, and there was times years ago I would ask him to call a friend that was doing a podcast or doing one of these phone hotline things and just use his voice and talk about something. And Billy'd say, "Sure, brother, I'll do it." And he wouldn't have done it for probably anybody else, but he would do it for me as a favor. And I'll never forget that kind of stuff. And it just, I just miss the opportunities that we had to get together and just sit down and shoot the breeze and talk about Bobby Heenan and the Crusher and different guys that he had a lot of respect for. And he loved Gorilla Monsoon and different people, and just hearing his take on something. And well, I'll tell you a funny story. One time he says, brother, he says, you want to know who my toughest opponent was? And I says, no, Billy, who is your toughest opponent? He says, Fritz von Erich. I says, Fritz was your toughest opponent? He goes, brother, the nicotine in his fingers. When he put the iron claw on my face, I had to smell the nicotine in his fingers. And only Billy could do something like that. And it was just like he had me rolling at the restaurant laughing because I thought he was going to talk about some shoot fight he had or something. And he's talking about the guy was a chain smoker. So, and Billy hated that, as you know, he hated smoking. So it was just funny things like that. I'll just miss, and it's crazy. It's just crazy to miss all that.
And for people that didn't know him, he would be like the way he talked, and he would cut promos all the time. Like if you're at that Mexican restaurant with him, he's constantly cutting promos. Like
Yeah,
that's just how he talks.
yeah,
Talking
yeah,
to a
yeah,
waitress, it's like it's so funny.
yeah. Yeah. One waitress, I told him, I said, that waitress is very attractive, Billy. And he called her over. He says, Miss, come over here. Come over here. So she walks over and he goes, let me see your hand. And he pulls her hand up. He goes, what do you have going on right here? And she goes, nothing. He goes, nothing? Well, this is a single young man right across the table here. And he was trying to fix me up with her, but it was just his approach to everything. And she was like, oh my God, she was so embarrassed and everything. But Billy would do that all the time. Yeah, he
Oh
was a he
God,
was a great guy, funny as hell, and certain topics I could bring him to tears. You know, he loved Bobby Heenan with all his heart, and if I brought up Bobby on the right day, he would just start breaking down and crying. He said there was nobody in the business that could do what Bobby could do. The greatest manager around. He had so many good things to say about Bobby, and I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, Billy, I didn't mean to, break you down, brother." I said, "No, brother, I just love the guy, man. I loved him." And Gorilla Monsoon was the same way, man. Billy would just start shedding tears over Monsoon. Really cared for him a lot. So it's, I don't know, I know part of living is part of is dying, and that's all part of the whole thing we go through. Both going to do it. We're nobody gets out alive, but man, it's sure sad, I guess the only thing we can hope for is somebody says the same words about us that we're saying about Billy right now. That when it's our time, and he was a great guy. I loved him with all my heart.
And the original superstar.
Damn right.